everyone, my name's Montana, and we're in a series called Titan Topics. And I've got a quick one for you today. Have you ever thought about how crazy technology is today? Phone, social media, music, movies, video games, the internet, they're all right at your fingertips. Now, maybe you haven't thought about this, but since I'm old, I have. Back when I was in junior high, if I wanted to call up my best friend, I had to actually pick up one of these. You know what made that especially annoying? I had to wait until no one else was using the phone at my house before I could even make a call. And then once I was actually talking to my friend, my parents would constantly pick up the phone while I was talking.
It was so annoying.
And then there were movies. Ever heard of Blockbuster? Well, if you haven't, believe it or not, it was an actual store where you went to rent the newest movies. I'd have to get my mom or dad to drive me to the store, hope that the movie I wanted wasn't already checked out, and then rent one of these. Only to have to return it the very next day. And honestly, don't even get me started with computers or internet being on your phone. I had to use one of these and it would make this sound as I tried getting on the internet. Yeah, when I was your age, technology wasn't convenient or easy at all. It was really limited. But today, we have so much access to so many different types of media, and has it ever made you wonder if that's a good thing? Like, is media good or bad? Honestly, that question is really hard to answer, and the reality is, the media we use can sometimes be good and sometimes be bad. We use our phones to help us solve difficult homework problems, which is a plus, but we also use them to text mean or hurtful gossip to our friends, which isn't so great. We have a lot of fun playing video games with our friends, but we also get into huge fights with our parents when they limit our playing time. We enjoy constant access to entertainment on the internet, but it's easy to make poor decisions about what we watch or look at when we're bored. We get to see what our friends are up to via Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, but sometimes that causes us to compare ourselves to other people. It even allows us to stay in touch and connect with people all over the world, but when we're on our phones so much, we can miss out on what's happening right in front of us. You see what I mean? When it comes to media, sometimes it feels like it's really good and sometimes really bad. A guy named Paul wrote something a long time ago that I think might help us today. You see, Paul would write these letters so that he could share wisdom and encouragement with others. He was super smart, and in one of his letters, he wrote this. You say, I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. So let's stop right here. Paul was writing to a group of people called the Corinthians, and he started by pointing out that they seemed to think they were free to do whatever they wanted. Sound familiar? I think it actually sounds a lot like our world today. Sure, we all have some freedom to get on social media or spend hours on YouTube or binge watch Netflix or play uninterrupted video games all weekend. But just because we can do it doesn't mean it's good for us. Paul went on to make another really important statement to the Corinthians that we can also apply to media today. He said, and even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. I think this part of what Paul said gives us a really clear idea of how we should think about media. Do we have the freedom to use it? Sure. Can it be good for us? Sometimes. When do I know it's starting to be bad for me? When it's ruling my life. See, Paul explained that when we become a slave to something, when we let something rule our lives, that's when we know it's a problem. So what does that look like for us in terms of the media we're using? Well, if we're spending hours playing a game or using an app instead of making friends or connecting to the people God has placed in our lives, or if we're consistently doing something online or in front of a screen that leaves us feeling guilty or shameful, or if we scroll through social media and constantly feel worse about our lives, or if the idea of having our phone, computer, video games, or TV taken away from us is more than we can handle, then media might be playing a negative role in our lives. So what do we do? Well, I think we have to start by considering the difference between what we're allowed to do and what's best for us to do. We might be allowed to have all the kinds of access to media, but that doesn't mean it's the best thing for us all the time. So how can we use Paul's words of wisdom to make sure we're using media in a way that's healthy and beneficial for us? Here are a couple questions you can ask yourself. Where is media controlling me? First, we need to be honest about the ways media might be controlling us. Where are you spending too much of your time? One good way to check this is to see how much screen time you've been using on your phone or logging how much time you spend playing video games. But be careful, it might shock you on how much time you spend on each app or game. The amount of time and energy you spend on different types of media will help you determine if it's controlling too much of your life. Another question is, what healthy boundaries can I create for myself? Maybe you don't charge your phone in your room at night so that you can sleep better. Or maybe you don't play video games until you're finished all of your homework in the evenings. Or maybe you turn off all media one day of the week so you can spend uninterrupted time with your family. Start setting some healthy habits for yourself now. Remember, if you're ever in a situation where it's hard to determine what's good or bad, you can always ask. God will give you wisdom if you ask Him for it. And He also put people in your life to help you. People like your parents or your small group leader. When in doubt, ask someone you trust and be open to how they might help you use media in a wise and healthy way. Because even the toughest, strongest, smartest titans need to think through how they spend their time when it comes to media.